Welcome, everybody. Today, we're having our Commissioners Court meeting set for Monday, January the 8th. Let the record reflect that we have a quorum. Before we begin, we're going to start with a prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner, you lead us in prayer?
Bow your heads and pray with me. Heavenly Father, we come here today before you to do the business of Wilson County. Lord, we just ask that you bless this court and all those that are present today or listening online, that we conduct business in the best interest of the county. And Lord, we just reach out to you because we know this time of year there are many people who are depressed and sad and have no family or loved ones. And Lord, we just ask that you bless everybody that's within our reach here in Wilson County. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Move to agenda item number 3 for public comments. Thank you. We have Mr. Ray Wolf. Mr. Wolf, you have the podium. 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you. The reason I'm here is we're at the 7th month period now of me asking for a new billing statement for all the public entities for the tax collecting. 7 months I've been asking for it. The reason I'm asking for it is y'all bill about $440,000 that's spread out among all the entities. And y'all started this in 2000, well, the last billing was 2019. And since then, I believe that ESD number 4 has come on board. I believe ESD number 5 has come on board. And I believe ESD number 1 also annexed like Southern Springs, something behind Wood Valley. So that's more money that goes into the deal. That means the cost should be spread less to each entity. But nobody wants to do that in Wilson County. Why? I do not know. And if you are billing 4 and 5, how did you get the number? Did you just say, here, let's bill them this? I don't know. And then if something like us, we have a small tax rate. If we increase it 3%, I know Wilson County last year increased theirs by 8%. Well, they would have to pay a larger percentage of this $440,000 than we do. And Wilson County still refuses to look at that. Why? I have no idea. That's something that's just amazing to me that y'all don't do this yearly and don't care to do it. I just can't figure it out. And all I can tell you is that, unfortunately, there is, and maybe nobody reads the law, but there is an Attorney General's opinion that states exactly how you should calculate the expenses to do this. I've sent y'all that text message. Y'all know that as well as anybody. And nobody will ever go and read the Attorney General's opinion. And it will change everything for y'all. Y'all shouldn't even, now the Attorney General's opinion I read years ago, as I explained to you, it may have changed by then. I don't know. I mean, I just want Wilson County, 7 months is a long time to be waiting for this, y'all. I mean, really and truly, 7 months. And all y'all want to do is every year bill 2019. I mean, I don't understand it. Maybe y'all do. Maybe y'all think that's the correct way to do it. I don't. I mean, like I said, I wanted to be on the agenda but y'all won't let me on the agenda to ask y'all if maybe y'all could get a third party in here if it's too much for y'all to do, maybe somebody else could do it. That's all I want. I'm not asking for the world. I just want the billing done right. And I've been asking for 7 months, and here I am, taken away from my time to do this. That's it. Gotta go.
All right, our next speaker is Melissa Laffey. Ms. Laffey?
Nothing special, Laffy, like the taffy. Thank you for letting me speak today. Speaking about the infrastructure, building on infrastructure, I know we're doing the emergency management center, which we need. I also want to talk about the show barn, for those of us that have been here for a while, Expo Center. Also think about that as infrastructure, how we can use it as infrastructure, the different things we can use it as. I think we need to speak with other counties on how they use their expo centers for other items. I don't think ours is getting used like it should be. But I also think we need to look at that as infrastructure for our children. Most of our children that graduate out of these high schools are our 4-H and FFA children. The top kids are our FFA and 4-H children. They go away to college. They're your top college graduates. What do they become? They become your businessmen. They become your politicians. They come back to your counties. Do you want those kids to have a good infrastructure? Yes, you want those kids to have a good infrastructure. So we need to think about our show barn and what it looks like, how it works for these kids. Is our show barn a really good show barn? Does it work good for them? Not so much. So, can we kill two birds with one stone and work a little bit on our show barn? Probably, I think we could. And I think we probably have the money to do so. So why don't we do this? Why don't we not only invest in our county, but also invest in our kids so that when they go off to college and they become businessmen, they become politicians, they want to come back to our county and become businessmen and politicians in our county and be proud of our county. Thank you.
Thank you. Move to certificates and completion, agenda item number 4. None? Okay. Got none? We move to agenda item number 5, extension activity reports. Do y'all want to come up and speak?
Good morning. They're all in your binders, and if y'all have any questions, let us know. But everything should be in there.
Anything exciting that's happened in our agri-life world here in the last couple of months?
Yes. We're getting another intern in, so that's exciting
Okay.
news.
She's starting in a couple weeks.
She starts right at the beginning of stock show season, so we're excited to have her come on and learn.
You want to introduce her next meeting? She going to be here by next meeting?
Maybe.
That's a stock show.
That is the first day of stock show, so
Okay.
we'll
Maybe
try to
Make
make
it
it
the one
work.
after that, then.
Maybe the February meeting.
Okay. All right.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 6, Ms. Luz Cerato, Permitting and Development Director, discuss and take action on utility permits. We're going to do A and B together. Permit 757 Sunco, Precinct 2, County Road 232, and permit 758 Sunco, Precinct 2, County Road 453.
Okay, Sunco proposes to install a road bore across and beneath County Road 232 to provide water service for a new customer. This is for a new meter. So that one is the one across County Road 232.
So I did look at both of these, actually. So the one on County Road 232, I'm good with, and the one on County Road 453. So I'd like to make a motion to accept permit 757 and 758. Sunco Water for Precinct 2, County Road 232.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner King, seconded by Commissioner Martin. Is there any discussion? I do have a question. So we have a 1-inch poly service being placed in a 2-inch PVC pipe?
It's the casing is 2-inch PVC. The service line is 1 inch on the inside.
Why do they do that?
Protection.
Anytime they go under a county road, they put a casing under
Okay.
They do this with oil lines.
What is that? The question isn't so much it's the size of the pipe. What's it going to service? It's not very big.
No, it's just a house.
Okay, all right. All right, Noah, is there any other questions? Call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against? Ayes have it, motion passes. We move now to agenda item number 6C, permit 759, SWC Precinct 3 Quail Run.
Yes, this service line will be for Precinct 3 for Commissioner Perdola. SS Water proposes a road bore under Quail Run, approximately 325 feet southeast of Enchanted Oaks, and this will be to service the address of 304 Quail Run property. It will also be 2 inches with a 1-inch PVC service line.
I make a motion that we accept permit 759 in precinct 3 on Quail Run. Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Paradola, seconded by Commissioner Aiken. Is there any other discussion on agenda item number 6C? Hear none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against? Ayes have it, motion passes. Thank you, ma'am. Oh, side needs a minute. Moving along pretty quick. We're going to move to agenda item number 7. We have a presentation and briefing by the EMC Group on the recent economic meetings at Washington, D.C., and possible results to grants available to Wilson County.
Thank you, Judge. There's a PowerPoint presentation that I've prepared so that you all could see that, and also the constituents that are here. I do want to acknowledge one of the FEDC board members, Joel Adroyo, who's one of our bosses that's here with us today. He was very supportive of this trip, and if not for his support and the rest of the FEDC board, we would not have been able to do that. I also want to recognize the members of our team. Janice Gonzalez is the owner and founder of EMC, so if she could please stand as I call the names. Also, Fabio Gonzalez, he is the Director of Marketing and Communications, and please remain standing. And Mitchell Gonzalez, Grants Coordinator and Special Projects Coordinator for EMC. We're all registered federal lobbyists and certified grant writers, and I do want to acknowledge that both Fabio and Mitchell are official lobbyists, federal lobbyists, as of January 1. So they're a part of this team. Thank you all. So we had participated in a collaborative partnership between the county, the city, and the FEDC on the first week of December in Washington, D.C. So it was a unified voice. It was great to team up together and share information because it drew attention to Wilson County in every meeting that we had, whether it was with a federal agency or with a member of Congress. They mentioned that. They mentioned that it was good to see multiple agencies working together. So that took place on December 4th through the 7th. Next slide, please. So on day 1 and day 2 of our trip, we visited with federal agencies. And those federal agencies were tied specifically to priorities within the region that were tied to economic development, infrastructure, public safety, and so forth. Those federal agencies that we visited included the United States Department of Agriculture, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Department of Justice, the Veterans Administration, the Department of Transportation, and the Small Business Administration. Next slide, please. So again, on day 1, we actually went to the USDA headquarters. We visited with some of the directors of the USDA, including the Director of Rural Development. So you may be familiar that in Seguin, there is a Office of Rural Development for the USDA, and their job is to provide assistance to rural communities. We actually met with the director that oversees the entire program for the whole country. So we are reminded about some of the existing programs that do exist, like the Community Facilities Program, the Waste and Water programs that they have, the programs that they have for housing, and also for infrastructure. So very productive meeting. We were able to gather and share that information with the delegation on what type of funding is available. And then at the end, we can open up floor for some questions on that. Next slide. So also on day 1, we went to the Environmental Protection Agency and we met with the director of what's called the Brownfields Program. So if there's any contaminated land that the county has or the city or the school district, and whether it's contaminated because it used to be a former landfill, a former gasoline station, whatever the issue is, but it needs to be cleaned up, that property. Well, the economic or the EPA has funding available to do a targeted assessment on that property, to list all the things that need to be done to revitalize that property so it could be used for further development. And then they also have funding to actually clean up the property. So it's a 2-step process: assess and clean up. And so that is an opportunity that is available for this county. Next slide. So we went also to the Department of Justice, and we learned about the COPS program. And recently, EMC was successful in securing 2 COPS programs totaling $500,000 for the city of Pearsall and Castroville. In fact, Mitchell was the grant writer that wrote those programs. We actually met with the director of the DOG COPS program. So in the future, we would encourage that if the Sheriff's Department is interested in pursuing funding for entry-level officers or even the constable's offices, any law enforcement agency that's tied to local law enforcement can apply for that funding. The good thing is that we've established a great working relationship with the director of the COPS program, so that kind of makes our job a lot easier, because whenever we get stuck on an application, rather than going through the bureaucracy, we can go right to the source of the person that runs that program. And again, I want to highlight that there are significant dollars that are available. Congressman Tony Gonzalez was able to secure funding for 50 officers in San Antonio. Congressman Henry Cuellar secured funding for 15 officers in Laredo. And so we're hoping to have that type of success in this area too. Next slide. We spent about 2 hours with the Veterans Administration at their headquarters, and specifically with a gentleman named General Henry Huntley, who spent some time with the judge and our delegation. We talked about the various programs that the VA has. And I know that there is a significant amount of veterans in Wilson County. In fact, about 10% of your population, which is probably one of the highest in the state of Texas, are veterans. And that number is going to continue to grow, because as the county grows, because of people are moving into this area, you're getting a lot of people that are retiring from the various military bases around San Antonio metro area, and they're coming here because it's a good place to live. And so when you get those veterans to come here, you get people that are mission-oriented, task-oriented, have the experience, have the discipline, and can help contribute to this community rather than just taking from it. So we learned about the housing assistance programs that are available, the training programs that are available for veterans, education, healthcare, wellness. We touched on, again, various projects, and one of the greatest things that we did was we started to plant a seed for something that's very important to our Congresswoman, Monica de la Cruz, is that the VA is looking to establish veterans clinics throughout the country. And it's those members of Congress that work aggressively to create the story and talk to local officials on where do you want to place that veterans clinic. And so when you think about the number of veterans that are coming in, we know that the percentage is going to continue to increase. We know that the demand for health care for veterans is going to continue to increase. So the question that we can all ask each other is that, do we want Wilson County to get it, or do we want Webb County to get it? You know, it's 150 counties in the state of Texas, and they're all going to be competing for a clinic. We planted the seed, and so in fact, one of our delegation members, Donald C., who's a city council member for Floresville, was appointed as the first member of the Congressional District's Veteran Services Advocacy Group. So pretty excited about that. It was a great success. Next slide. Then we went to the Department of Transportation headquarters. So you got TxDOT, you got USDOT. Money flows from the federal government to the state, and then they divvy out the money. And for those of you the commissioners, you know that one of your main priorities is roads. You got to fix those roads. It takes money. You know that the love for roads and pie in the sky doesn't count. We need cash. And so DOT was talking about the various funding programs they've got, and they've got about a dozen different funding programs that provide funding for transportation infrastructure. So we learned about those programs, which we hope to share with you all later. We talked about the importance of working together in collaborative partnership with the city, because as you collaborate, you draw more attention to your community, and then as the grant evaluators are deciding where they're going to invest those dollars, they're going to look at those communities that work and will play well with others, and I think we showed that we could. The judge was very helpful in emphasizing the growth, and also with the growth, the traffic that you're getting throughout your county. And we just got more vehicles coming in. We know that oil production is going to continue to increase according to the governor's office and the GLO. There's going to be more production of oil in Texas, and that means there's going to be more trucks, more rigs on the roads, which are going to cause a lot of wear and tear in your vehicle. And as the oil production grows up, the county population increases, we're going to end up with traffic jams, you know, eventually in the county on your main roads. So we want to plan accordingly, plan ahead to capture those dollars that are available. Next slide. Then we met with the SBA headquarters, which was a great treat because when we got there, we actually met with the director of the SBA, and that doesn't always happen. To meet with a cabinet member, her Secret Service detail came in. They looked at the room. We told them that the judge was with us, and she came in and spent about 20 minutes with us, and she talked about the local needs to support business owners and aspiring entrepreneurs in Wilson County. And we talked about how the San Antonio District could partner up with this area to really provide those services to get small business owners access to dollars, business certifications. And while we were there, we also got to meet with the chairman of the Small Business Committee, Congressman Rogers out of Fort Worth. It was a very productive meeting, and excited to share those resources, and excited to share that Janice, the owner of EMC, has already scheduled the SBA mobile unit to come out to Floresville at the end of the month. And so we'll be coordinating with the judge's office to make sure that the word gets out. We'll coordinate with the city and the school district to make sure that the community knows when the SBA is coming, and they will continue to come throughout the year. Next slide. Then our congressional outreach started on day 3. We spent the first day on the Hill with the U.S. House of Representatives and met with various congressmen. We also, on day 4, spent the day with the U.S. Senate. But the topics of discussion were very similar to the meetings that we had previously. We talked about veteran services, economic development, job creation, infrastructure, transportation, housing, and public safety. And we made sure that the members of Congress that we visited with knew the story of this county. And so here we are, our delegation. It was a very brisk, cold morning, but they were troopers, and we walked a lot. So next slide. So we met with Congressman Monica de la Cruz and her chief of staff. We met with Congressman Henry Cuellar, Congressman Chip Roy, Congressman Roger Williams, Congressman Tony Gonzalez, and Senator Ted Cruz, and Senator John Cornyn. It was great to have that FaceTime with those members of Congress, and we found them to be very receptive to the things that we were talking about, because there were things that impact their districts too. Congressman Monica de la Cruz was amazing. She spent about close to a half hour with us, and really listened to the things that we're talking about, and so we're very lucky to have her support throughout our projects. Next slide. So here we are with Congresswoman Monica de la Cruz. We talked about the items that we mentioned earlier, and we'll have that continued follow-up with her field staff and her. Next slide. Again, the City Councilman Donald C. was appointed to the 15th Congressional District Veterans Advisory Committee, and he's the first one of the 15th Congressional District to be named that. If you haven't met Donald, he's a retired Border Patrol agent, retired veteran, and he's also a veteran county service officer for a neighboring county. Next slide. So we had a very distinct honor and privilege to actually visit with a key member of the U.S. House of Representatives, Congressman Tony Gonzalez, who's a retired Navy Chief Petty Officer, and he's been in Congress now. I think this is going to be his 3rd term. He took over from Will Hurd. He's got the largest congressional district in the country, and he's certainly facing a lot of issues with border security right now with the immigrants coming in illegally in the United States. We did talk about the need for increased public safety dollars to sheriff's departments throughout the state. We also talked about veteran services, and he's, if you didn't know, he's one of the ranking members of the House Appropriations Committee. He's got the bank. So we want to ask somebody for money. That's the guy we got to have a relationship with, along with his colleague, Henry Cuellar, because they're both appropriations. That is so significant to have that relationship with that member of Congress, and we're very happy that we've got a great working relationship with Tony. Next slide. Here we are with, I believe this was Chip Roy's office. Chip Roy, he's ranked one of the most conservative members of the House of Representatives, but he cares very much about veteran services. He's all about job creation, supporting small business, reduction of tax, and being fiscal responsibility, or being a fiscal conservative. We found common ground. He knows the needs of this region. Although we're not in his district, we're in the neighboring district. So what impacts the 15th district impacts the 21st. Next slide. Then we met with the United States Senate. This was a big treat. It's not very often that any delegation in the state of Texas gets to visit with a member of the U.S. Senate, because there's only 100 of them, and we only got 2 in the state. And so everybody wants to meet with them. But thanks to Ernie Fabio over here, they bonded because they got facial hair and they're talking about beards and mustaches. And what helped us get into the door, honestly, I got to single the county judge out, is that when we called and scheduled the meeting, I said, I'm bringing the former chief of the Texas Rangers, and so it's important that we have that sit down with the senators. So they talked about border security, and that was very helpful. It drew attention to Wilson County. So I want to thank the judge personally for making that conversation extended. It was supposed to be a 15-minute meeting, turned it to 45 minutes. It turned out so long than the average meeting with any constituent that his chief of staff had to come and say, Senator, we got to go. I mean, you're already backed up because you extended the meeting so long. It was a great meeting with him, and we're very excited that he gave us that time. We also found out that he may throw his hat in the presidential race in 2028. He didn't keep that a secret, and so we're very honored to have spent that opportunity with him. Next slide. Then Senator John Cornyn, who's the senior U.S. Senator for the state of Texas. He is originally from San Antonio. So as we started talking about the pitch for Wilson County, he stopped us on our tracks. He said, I'm from Bexar County. So, whatever happens in Bexar County, I know what happens in Wilson County. I know about how important oil production is to job creation in your county. So we found, again, a strong ally for veteran services, a strong ally for the awareness and the need for infrastructure, and then especially for rural communities. So we got a friend there also. Again, thank you to the judge for being there. Next slide. So what we're doing next. So we've already begun the groundwork to at the direction and encouragement of our Congresswoman, let's look at that Veterans Clinic, because other counties in the state of Texas, they're vying for it. But we got to be aggressive about it. We got to highlight the growth in population of veterans. We got to highlight the number of military installations that are within the area, that those veterans are looking for a rural community to live in. They want a place that's safe. They want a place where they can raise a family. They want a place where they can start a business. So the Veterans Clinic is very important, so we're pursuing that. We're also working with the partnership with SBA. It's actually already been done. It's a done deal for the city of Floresville and the FEDC have already engaged in the SBA partnership. So like I mentioned, Janice has already scheduled the SBA mobile unit to come out, and they will come out throughout the year. We've also created, at least for the FEDC in the city, a partnership with Joint Base San Antonio. Joint Base San Antonio is a conglomerate of all the military bases. So we've got a partnership already with the base. The idea is that we want to get military personnel that are soon to retire. Within a year's time, they can find placement as an intern or a fellow within a government entity. So in the near future, you're gonna see possibly some active duty military personnel working out of City Hall or working in a various city department, and we hope that we can expand that to the county. Then we are going to develop a DOT planning grant project so that we can tap into those funding resources that are available for the infrastructure. We want to develop an EPA project, identify some property that needs to be cleaned up that could be revitalized and redeveloped for economic development. We want to establish an incubator across the street. The FEDC's got a project. It's called the Pleasanton Business Regional Plaza. We want to add an incubator to that and have the USDA fund that. Then we are going to engage the USDA for a housing awareness partnership program. So we know that houses are scarce in the entire region, and we know that people are looking for a place to live. So we want to use the USDA resources to help create awareness about those funding opportunities that exist for not only the county or the city, but for the constituents. And then we started planting the seed too for a concept, and this is just an idea, but let's think about 10 or 20 years from now. As the community grows, this need will exist to establish an airport within Wilson County, possibly a collaborative partnership between the EDC, the city, and the county. So we're planting the seed, talking about the steps on what it would take to establish an airport, and then let's do a feasibility study. Let's look at what are the economic impacts that would happen in Wilson County if we did have an airport. And if you're skeptical, just look at what's happening in Medina County and Castroville. they've got an airport, and we represent them, and it's a huge economic component for them. Pleasanton's got an airport, huge economic impact. They've got military aircraft landing at that airport to refuel. They've got DEA out there going out to refuel. And so it can be a huge economic driver for the county. And then the last thing is we've already begun to plant the seed and plan the next DC trip. Every member of Congress, including our 2 U.S. senators, said the more that your community comes out and is in the face of members of Congress, whether it's in the House or the Senate, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. If you get out there, you play the game, and you get to sell your story continuously, they're going to say, oh, here comes Wilson County again. You know, they're reminding us of their need. That's exactly what we're going to do. And I applaud the FEDC and the board member, Arroyo, for supporting that, and also the city. Next slide. So in a previous meeting that I was at here where I presented, we talked about how EMC could support you. And we know there's a need. We know that the community is growing. We'd like to be your consulting firm to support economic development, to support your grant and fund development, to serve as as your consultants in outreach to the state and federal government. Janice and I have got over 30 years in the business. We were fortunate that we worked for the U.S. Congress. We know how the game is played. I worked for the House of Representatives. She worked for the U.S. Senate. And then Ernie, Fabio, and Mitch, they are now in the business. They just went through the legislative session at the state last year, and they'll spend most of their spring in D.C. and doing the rounds. So I did share an agreement as a proposal. We did talk about our service fee last time and the administrative fee. So we hope that you would consider EMC as a member of your team so we can help you plan for your growth ahead and address the needs of your precinct. At this time, I'd like to open up the floor to any questions you may have about the trip or our services.
Well, first up, Mr. Gonzalez, I want to thank you and your great team for allowing me to go with the FEDC people up there, because my eyes were really open to what you can do for this county. The way your team maneuvered through that Capitol, and both on the Senate and the House side, and I saw you said there might be another visit in the spring. If I decide to go, I am not wearing cowboy boots. My feet were killing me after 3 days. And I mean, you literally have to wear tennis shoes. And if you look around, everybody's wearing some type of sneakers, even with a suit on. There was a lot of walking. But to have both our senators spend that quality of time with us, I don't think Senator Cruz wanted us to go. I knew he was being drug out to say, you got to go someplace else. Just the time, the quality time that each one of those departments spent with us, especially the VA, was unbelievable. And to bring a clinic here would be tremendous, especially for our veterans here who don't want to drive all the way into San Antonio and go to Audie Murphy and have the problems of maneuvering through the traffic. So the one last thing I want to ask you for the commissioner before I let them ask questions, wasn't there something we talked about? Which one said something about there's funding that could be done to restore our courthouse?
Yeah, so through the state, Governor Abbott and the state legislature approved funding last session. And so there's a grant that's available this spring for counties to apply to do renovation within this courthouse. In addition to that, that's just the state money. Then in addition to that, the USDA has what's called the Community Facilities Program that could provide funding for your sheriff's department, for your precinct offices, for your courthouse. There's just a lot of dollars. And some of that comes in the form of 40-year notes at a very, very low interest rate. I mean, just a little bit above 2% for a 40-year note, and deferred payment for a year. And so that could be a combination of a loan and a grant. But the grant that you make reference to specifically in the renovation, that'll be due this spring. So, you know, we want to make sure that we don't miss that opportunity, because that's free money. There's no local match on that.
Commissioners, do you have any questions?
No, I guess my only thing next time is, yeah, because I mean, to me, there's two challenges on the road funding side of things. One is that my understanding is Texas contributes significant amount of money to the US DOT in the form of our gasoline tax that goes there, but we don't get 100% back of what we give the government. So I know our guys need to fight for us to get more of our gasoline tax money back. And in my experience, and the challenge I think that we have is that in looking for grants, we generally don't fit well in a lot of those grants because, number one, they're not targeted towards rural communities, or they're not targeted towards rebuilding infrastructure from the standpoint of, all of us have county roads that are 3, 4, 5 miles long. That takes a significant amount of money. And that's all we need to do is rebuild that road. We're not putting in sidewalks. We don't have the funds to maintain it afterwards, or any of the kind of things that are in those grants. So, we need a grant program that is just focused on solely rebuilding what we have to where it'll stand up, maybe improve a little bit of drainage.
Yeah, I want to address that, Commissioner, is that, so the DOT has a division called the routes team. And their specific purpose is to pair up a rural community with the correct funding to address those needs that you just mentioned. And the big thing is how TxDOT operates is it's multiple moving parts. Number one is you got to have a relationship with the Texas Transportation Commission. You got to have a relationship with your district engineer. And the new district engineer just started the job on December the 15th. Then it doesn't hurt to have that relationship with the state engineer, Lance Simmons. And we've actually been able to bring him to various cities that we represent. And then drafting a plan. Once you get TxDOT to say, okay, well, this makes sense, where's your plan? So we want to get it shovel ready. So the DOT, through the routes program, they will help us apply for a grant that can help us develop a plan. So you identify those roads within your specific precincts, and then that planning will include the engineering and the environmental and the assessments that are needed. So once we get that packet shovel ready, then we can approach the Texas Transportation Commission and take a delegation of the commission up to Austin to actually present and state that these are the roads, this is our plan, we've already completed the plan, and now put us on the list for funding. And so working with our state senator, Judith Zaffarini, our state representative, Ryan Guillen, who's, as you all know, his status is elevated when he made decisions politically to change, and so now he's tied in with the governor. So there are opportunities to address that. And so I appreciate that concern because we know it's a growing problem.
Mr. Gonzalez, thank you. We're going to look it over for consideration. Something we want to discuss and probably try to get something done by next commissioners meeting. But I failed to mention a big thanks to the city of Floresville. I seen our city manager, Mr. Joslin, was in here and he left, but he was one of them that reached his hand out to us to say we wanted to go on this trip.
Thank you, Judge, and thank you, Commissioners. We hope to represent you in the near future.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Move to agenda item number 8, discuss and take action on amending the Wilson County private improvements with public right-of-way regulations dated 7/24/2023, page 8, to include a fine of up to $500. Do we have that slide? All right, Commissioners, I brought this to the court because we're having a consistent problem in our housing development areas, specifically this one subdivision on Farm Market 2579. It's called Hilltop Ranch, and if you'll look in your book, since we don't have the slides, if you look at the book, you'll see dumpsters that are placed in the county right-of-ways, and I'm sure that every one of our precincts has this problem. The problem with these big dumpsters is that you can't mow around them. They're too close to the roadway. Number one, they are against our PIPRO regulations, the title I just mentioned. If somebody hits that dumpster, what happens to the county? Is it the county liability? Is it going to be the dumpster company, the garbage company? Is it the landowners? Well, the bottom line is the owners of the property are asking them to put them in that right of way when they should be in private property away from anybody that could hit it and do harm. And again, it poses a lot of problem for you commissioners for not being able to do your work on the roadway, and people complain that nobody mows around them. I'm still trying to figure out how a dumpster that big, that is taken care of weekly, and there's only like 2 persons living in a mobile home need that dumpster that big. And they could go easily. I've talked to both the companies in question are, I think they're Frontier and Tiger. I personally went to them. These photographs that you have in your book, I took them. I've been out there many times to see if they were moving them. They said they were gonna move them. They agreed to moving them. Not all of them been moved. So we have a rule with no teeth in it. So I'm asking the court to amend the PIPRO regulations to include a fine up to $500 if the tenants of those locations there where the dumpsters do not move the dumpsters off the county property.
Who will we assess that fine on, the dumpster company or the?
No, the fine would be assessed on the owner. The company's only putting it where they're telling them to put. So it wouldn't be fair to them. I know that when I went last week, there were some that had been moved, so there's movement on that, but, and there's some folks that have actually taken it upon themselves to build a pad inside their property, so the dumpster's not on the county right-of-way. So, the fine would go against, the resident. And I guess if they don't remove them at that point, Sheriff, you and I talked about possibly impounding them. I hope it doesn't come to that point. So something's got to be done. It's a danger to the people driving down those roads, and it does hamper you all from doing your job.
Yeah, and I guess, so it'd be, what is the time frame? So they get the notice, they'd have 30 days to affect it, and if after that 30 days?
Well, we gave them 45 days already. We didn't.
Right.
The companies gave them 45 days. There have been many that complied. So what you're saying is when they are given the citation, how long do they have to comply?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm assuming that the permit development department would send that address a letter saying, you have 30 days or whatever time frame to remove that dumpster from the county right-of-way onto your private property. So that's all I'm saying is, at what point are you going to fine them? Because I don't think it's fair to fine them the first day you send them the letter.
Well, that's why it says up to. I mean, they can come before the court and say, and it's up to if they comply within 30 days, I think that's good. Luz, come on up.
I have a couple questions. Who would enforce this fine, and who would cite the fine?
Well, we'd have to have a law enforcement officer, not one of y'all out there to go out there and do it.
Constable
A
or,
constable.
yeah, constable would be,
So would this be something that would be brought to our attention by commissioners, and then we would send out a letter?
Yeah.
Okay.
So before any citations, I think a letter is appropriate. Then after that, well, how many warnings do you get?
Okay. I just wanted to get down the
Okay.
process of how this would happen.
Can you give her the microphone, please? Because this is important. They need to hear.
You probably need to provide some kind of procedure leading to the fine. Notice, whoever's going to give the notice, the letter, they have so many days to remove it. If not, then they're subject to a $500 fine, and thereafter, they're subject to impoundment, and then the cost of impoundment. So you just need to define the procedure if you want to add some enforcement to that regulation.
Will you help us with that wording?
Sure, of
Okay,
course.
all right. So first, we need to consider the up to 500, and then we work on how
You
we're going to
can,
approach it.
yes.
Okay.
And then, we can work on some kind of process or procedure, dealing with enforcement, who's going to send a letter, is somebody from the sheriff's office going to go out there, and we can work on that process so that then that can be part of the regulation, and people have notice as to, okay, if I don't move I've already been warned, I've been given this, these are the consequences, so sure.
Okay, I'll get with you.
Okay.
Do that? Okay.
Using our computer system right now, rather than all the process of mailing letters, if commissioners notify us of this, the constable or us sent out there to issue them a written warning and advising them of the process, with it, whatever it be, it'd be in the system. If we made a second call out there 40 days later, we would know they've already been issued a warning
Yeah.
here.
I think that can be built into that policy that you were talking about, so it would help the
It
officers.
would take a load off of the
Yeah.
planning part as far as having to handle the actual notification.
I think that'll work.
We're out
Yeah.
there today anyway.
It's all recorded. Yeah.
And Judge, and then if, once y'all meet or whoever's gonna, with Evelyn, I think Christina and I, if we could be involved because whatever fines and fees are collected, decisions need to be made on how those fines and fees are distributed and allocated and collected into the county.
Hopefully, we won't have to issue any fines.
Yeah,
So
but we would.
that's
need
that's
that.
the goal.
And there's going to be a cost associated if you get to the point where you have to actually remove it. You have to pay someone to go and remove it, and then you need to pay for storage. So there will be costs associated, and I mean, you can.
We could actually, on that, we could actually move it. Every one of us got a loader,
Got
and
loaders,
we have a
trucks,
collection facility that we can store them at. So that cost is not,
And
is
it
very bare minimum.
Probably be better to be a general fund issue rather than going back into the precinct, because we don't want to be in the business of, well, you're just doing it so that you can garnish money.
The dumpster itself doesn't belong to the customer.
Right.
So if we take that dumpster, we're gonna have to notify the company
Company.
that we have it, because that's their property.
That's correct, and you can initiate a fine to the owner, but in the process, we have to involve the dumpster company, because it is not the owner's property. So, we'll have to work the logistics with the
The
company.
two companies we've been working with have been very receptive. I mean, I don't know why they haven't all been removed yet, but some have been picked up, but not all of
It
them.
might be if we copy that dumpster company, when that notice goes to the deal, we could also let them know at the end of 30 days if it's still in the county right away, they just need to go pick it up.
Well, and the dumpster company can intervene and say, we cannot place this dumpster here. We're just not going to do it. It's against regulation, so you need to find another place, or we're just not going to deliver it to you.
I mean, the argument, I've heard several arguments. The arguments, well, now, moving a plastic trash can out to the front, and you still have to take your trash to the front. It's just you have to roll it out. And then they can take those back into their property, and there's no chance of somebody hitting those and doing damage, so.
Not only does this cause a issue with traffic, but it also damages our drainage, our roads, and our, with the right-of-ways. So we're out there a lot more taking care of these areas.
You have some dumpsters that's got weeds almost high to the top because they can't get around and mow them.
Yeah, no, the county has a definite interest in assuring that their placement is for the public safety, so that definitely is a concern.
Apache Disposal told their customers that we either move them in your property or we remove the dumpster, period. And guess what? All of a sudden, they got moved off the county
Yes,
right away.
yeah, some of the dumpster companies have been more, I guess, forthwith and working with
Proactive.
us. Yeah, others are, well, we've got a lot of customers out there. Well, yeah. Still got to take care of it.
Do we need to table this until we get verbiage?
No, we just want to include the fine up to $500, and then Ms. Huron and I will work on the language.
Yes, you can
Yes.
include that there will be a $500 fine assessed to the regulation, and then the terms of the regulation will be done at a later time. That's fine.
So I'll make a motion to include a fine up to $500 within the PIPRO regulations for dumpsters that are in the county right-of-way, to include whatever verbiage needs to be had after this.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner King, seconded by Commissioner Martin. Any other discussion on agenda item number 8? Hear none, call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against, ayes have it, motion passes. We move to agenda item number 9, move to take from the table to discuss, take out action on allowing law enforcement officials to utilize county vehicles for off-duty work within Wilson County. Let me entertain a motion to take from the table. Do I have a motion to take from the table agenda item number 9?
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Aiken, seconded by Commissioner Martin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against, motion passes, and we move forward. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, at the last meeting, it brought up the subject of us, the take-home vehicles for our deputies.
Right.
And the use of those off-duty, I think, was also an issue. At this time, it's a customary practice with other agencies around us to do what we've been doing. If it needs to be addressed or looked at to make alterations in it, I'm open for discussion, but it's kind of this has been done by a lot of agencies for a long time.
So I did call TAC, Texas Association of Counties, and sought some legal advice on this. And so, yeah, a lot of counties do that. That is the sheriff's fleet. It's his option. And of course, we discussed intensely about the need to have them in the county ready to go because times have changed, right, Sheriff? We're not 30 years ago. And so the other thing that we talked about, Ms. Huron, was what happens if they get hurt while they're on this special assignment to a school or a school dance or a football game. And TAC plainly said they're 24/7. They're police officers as long as they're on a law enforcement assignment.
Yes.
So that was where our hangup was right there. And then we got into the discussion about taking vehicles out of the county for off-duty employment. And I think, Sheriff, you said that was going to stop, correct? Or
That was up for discussion. I only allowed 1 to 2 vehicles
Okay.
to leave the county with specific intention in that. If that's an issue, it's something I'm more than happy to address. But I do know that we discussed the other day the fact that I've got 13 of them that live in adjacent counties, and that does cost fuel and mileage, wear and tear on the cars driving back and forth. But their ability to respond at a moment's notice, I think Judge came up with a number, and it's probably accurate, maybe even a little low, of around $30,000.
between 25 and 30.
And 13 of them, that's about $2,500
That's for the year,
apiece
spread
for a
out.
year. To me, for the ability to have them respond immediately and the fact that they can make more money elsewhere with their employment, because while we are getting very close to being competitive, I mean, we are real close. And y'all have done wonders in the last 3 years as far as moving us forward to be competitive in the market. We're still low, and any benefit or thing I can use to increase my ability to bring officers to here, I'm going to utilize. And that's one that is very, very useful for me, is the fact that they have a vehicle to take home.
You're working on a policy right now, Sheriff?
Yes, sir. I've reached out to 2 counties. I'm probably going to reach out to another couple that join us and see how their policies read. And once I develop something, I kind of really like the one that Guadalupe County uses because it's very detailed. It shows specific what the uses are allowed, and I like that. It's like enumerated 8 or 9 different things. I really like it, but there's other places that may have something even better. I'm gonna look at a couple of them, and when I get finished, when I draft one, I will bring it back to you or bring it to the judge, look at it. If there's anything we need to discuss before I implement it, I don't have a problem with that.
What's your distance for your out-of-town deputies that come to work today?
They have to live in an adjoining county. And their location that they live in is looked at before because of the neighborhood, to make sure that there's not more of an opportunity for the vehicle to be vandalized or whatever.
What happens if one of those deputies leaves on 2 weeks vacation and there's nobody at the house? What does he do with his unit?
The unit's been staying there, but I've looked at some of this other policy stuff, and a lot of them, if they can lock it in a garage, it's okay, but if not, if it's gotta be parked outside, they make them leave it at the county while they're off.
I
And,
just,
and that's actually a pretty good idea.
I
And it also gives you a spare unit for 2 weeks,
Yeah.
that you don't have to go hunting for.
I mentioned that because one of my rangers had his car broken into in an apartment complex, in San Antonio, and there's $20,000 worth of guns and equipment missing.
Yes, there's a lot of equipment and money in them vehicles, yes, sir.
Okay.
There's a couple of issues here. One is the sheriff's authority within the county, and the sheriff does have the authority to determine in his discretion what the use of that vehicle will be within the county if it's for the public safety and the public good, which is doing private security jobs that keeps the peace, or being available within the county in the event of an emergency. And so the sheriff has that discretion to do that. The concern is once the vehicle goes outside of the county, and whether or not the sheriff has a discretion to say, go ahead and take your car to Atascosa or to Bear County. And at that point, does Commissioner's Court need to approve of that? Because you're actually asking permission to take a county property outside of the jurisdiction of the county and outside of the sheriff. And so if you develop whatever policy you're going to work on, if you're taking that vehicle outside the county, if it's only to come into work, it's come home or go or come to work, and if you're going to be gone, the vehicle will be left at the county's offices or whatever. I mean, if you want to work on that policy, then I think that's something that probably should be brought to Commissioner's Court, because it's going to be involving taking this property outside of the jurisdiction of the sheriff's office. But within,
I'd have to
you
go
know.
back and read that Attorney General's opinion, which was an old opinion, so I don't know if there's something subsequent to that one. That was back when the governor was Attorney General. And it does say that that he has the caretaker of his own units. And, yes, they belong to the county, but they belong to the sheriff.
within the county.
Within the county. But then I go back to the law enforcement legal experts at TAC, and they say it's done. There's other counties that allow, because they can't find anybody to come work there, they allow them the one county over. I mean, obviously, he's not gonna hire a deputy from Sanderson to come over here and go back home every day.
Correct.
But they said,
Well, I'd
yes,
hire a
it's,
deputy from Sanderson, but yeah, he'd have to live here.
you're not driving back and forth,
No.
is you? Okay. By the time he got here, his shift's over.
Exactly.
So, so I'm just going by what their guidance was on that. I mean, as long as they're not performing, that's what they said, as long as they're going home, parking their vehicle and they're off duty, they're not going to do another duty out of the county, then there's several counties, well, they said there was more than several, there's quite a few counties that allow that. I mean, it was a surprise to me, but we go to TAC for a lot of advice.
And a lot of that, Judge, I'm gonna say started probably whenever, with society getting the way it is, there are so many people now that are special trained within an agency that they are on call 24/7, 365, and they need that vehicle and the equipment that goes with it right there with them when they take that call. And that probably is about when all of the people started taking home cars, is when they started having all these special trained units. And while not all of mine are that way, they still do have the equipment I need to get them to a major function or a major incident quickly in that car.
Okay, so we have two different things to resolve here. This one here specifically is to utilize the vehicles for off-duty within Wilson County. Am I correct? Okay.
For off-duty work with the vehicle within the county. That's the agenda item we gotta stick with.
Yeah, all right, so the agenda item we have here is to discuss and take action on allowing law enforcement officials to utilize vehicles for off-duty work within Wilson County.
Well, again, based on what you just said, unless there's a contrary opinion, I don't think we have any control over
No,
that issue.
I don't know, I may have some marks here that I didn't take a motion on that yet, have I? No, sir. All right, I mismarked it from agenda number 9. I'm number 8. Okay, I'll entertain a motion for agenda item number 9.
Make a motion that we allow law enforcement officials to utilize county vehicles for off-duty work within Wilson County.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Aiken, seconded by Commissioner Martin. Do we have any other discussion on agenda item number 9?
So anybody living outside of Wilson County, they drive to Bear County, wherever they live at, they're gonna come back and work a wedding at the show barn that night, and then they're gonna drive all the way back. Okay? I'm looking at it as, when are you gonna ask me for another vehicle? For more money for another vehicle? Because that's a lot. That's a lot of mileage, that's a lot of tire wear and tear on a vehicle. And I'm not trying to take away from your deputies. But I'm making the point of, yes, you got the fuel, but we're putting the mileage on the vehicle. You're gonna roll that vehicle at what, 150, 200,000? Hell, we're gonna hit that within 2 years.
It's about 4 years. I'm figuring 4 years to a car right now. 30,000 miles, you're figuring 4 to 5 years out of a car.
What time do you turn your pursuit vehicles over? What mileage do you reach?
That's just it right now. I've got vehicles out there running 190,000 miles because I can't get them. And in theory, where Commissioner King was going right there, about 150,000 is when I'd want them gone. Because you're starting to look at other maintenance issues too that get costly once you get over that 150. And most places today are running over 100 before they trade them anyway.
So that would be another agenda item for a future meeting to discuss that, but that's food for thought for your policy. That may be something you want to consider, like if they are going to go, they'd have to either leave their unit here, drive in, or come in and pick up a spare unit and go work that off. I mean, I see the commissioner's point.
I do too.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion on agenda item number 9? Hear none, call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against, motion passes on agenda item number 9. Thank you. Go to agenda item number 10. We have Commissioner Morton, Precinct 1, discuss, take action to amend the professional services contract with RVK to make changes to the design of the EOC. Commissioner, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Judge. Yeah, so in your packet, well, let me back up. So, we had, prior to this year, we had different folks in emergency management, and so with the new folks taking office this year and evaluating what we had, what we were going to do, and what our overall game plan was. Also, there was a couple of changes in the ARPA regulations that kind of wouldn't allow us to do what we were originally planning to do. So the bottom line is the building was separated and redesigned. Or that is the desire, is to have the 2 buildings separated and redesigned. We had received funding for the EOC through Representative Guillen's office. And we're looking at a grant to redo the maintenance facility to also convert it into an EOC annex. So what you have before you is, and the changes that are being made are fairly significant. In order to make the EOC building a standalone EOC. Some of those things that were in the original design were located in the maintenance building. So there's a significant amount of rework that has to be done. And so what you have before you is their estimate to do that. So it affects all of their sub-designers, the structural folks, the electrical folks, the HVAC folks. and then some minor changes due to the configuration and the outside landscaping and stuff like that. So I'll answer any questions that anybody has.
Commissioner, when are we going to get the full set of plans on this, on the revised?
I talked to him in 2 months or less.
Okay. We need, so we have to wait 2 months before we put out for bids?
Right.
They can't speed it up more?
Well, we're asking them to do an awful lot of work.
And we started in October.
Well, no, they haven't, no, all they did was they came up and we agreed on the floor plan. None of their sub-consultants have been engaged to make any of these design changes.
I think we need to move as quickly as possible. to get this-
We will, and they understand that. I had a good conversation with their lead architect last week. And the total cost is $118,350.
118,000.
Right.
And will that be coming from the money that we receive from the
I
state?
would
the
say
5
that's,
million?
yep, that's where it needs to
So
come from.
118,000 to revise the plans that we paid for already, is that my?
Oh, no, you're asking me, is the 118 going to come from the ARPA fund, or is it going to
No,
come
no,
from?
no, 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 from the money we received from the state for the EOC bill, the 5 million.
That's when no, it should come out of that ARPA, don't you think?
I don't
This
think,
has
it,
nothing to do with
it
ARPA.
doesn't have anything to do with ARP anymore.
This, because we
How did
moved
we initially pay for that?
with ARPA funds, because the ARPA funds were going to pay for the new EOC, but since we received the million from the state through
That's fine,
Ryan's
that'll
office,
work. Okay, we can do
Yeah.
that.
and we spent,
It-
the
it-
plans initially, I think, were like 220,000, so this additional 118 on top of the 220 is what it's costing, just to make the court aware, to
Right.
develop the plans.
Right, and then, what was I gonna say?
Okay, can we not
Yeah.
have any more changes and go with the plan that we have?
This is a
Yep.
lot of money for changes on a building we haven't even broke ground on.
Yep.
Cindy, are you following any of this?
I haven't even seen the quote, I don't know what it says. My question would be.
Go ahead and
is
identify
that
yourself.
100 and this new quote, does it include?
Cindy,
Identify yourself.
for the records.
I'm sorry, I'm Cindy Stafford, Emergency Management Coordinator for the county. We have been discussing with RVK on this, but I have not seen this quote. It was my understanding we were not touching the old maintenance building, so does this new quote include the
Yes,
cost
it
for it?
does.
So, but I don't think that should be in there because it's not being
We,
taken
we,
care
we
of
have
by
to
the
have a
$5
floor
million.
plan to go forward with getting a grant to pay for the rest of it.
So, but the,
How close are we to getting that grant? Are we is this the one with Broadus?
Yes. We can't submit anything until we have an actual finished floor plan, so that they have something
Okay.
to submit with the
but why
grant.
should the TDM money be paying for that part of the building? Why should, that should come from the Broadus money, not from the TDM?
Well, but we've got to get it done now. We need to get this moving forward.
I
So just
agree.
for clarification, the grant that Broadus is working on is not for infrastructure. The grant that Broadus is working on right now is a grant to pay for their services to rewrite our hazard mitigation plan. It has nothing to do with the building.
So
So
we're,
just to make sure everybody's aware, there is not an application out there for building construction at this time.
so we're gonna pay for plans to reconstruct a building that could never be built. That's my concern. Why
No,
should we
that's-
pay for
no.
plans to reconstruct a building that we could never get funding for?
We
That's
can't,
just-
we
No,
can get
we
funding,
have-
we can get funding for it. There's another funding source through Stafford Act money that we can get, but we need a floor plan, and this is one of those deals, like he said, shovel ready. We've got to have something to present to them to show them that we're ready to do this.
My question, Commissioner, is how long is that going to take? It's like 1 year after another? I mean, it's easy to say, yeah, we get the hazard mitigation plan back up to speed and snuff, and then, okay, now we're going to apply, but are we going to get it?
They've already amended the hazard mitigation plan and submitted that to get the EOC part of it done. From my understanding from Mr. Monreal, hopefully within 60 to 90 days, once they're able to take the floor plan and submit it for an application, we will be able to get funding for this.
Okay, now I'm confused again. So what is the money cannot be used for the structure, or what?
So-
I'm confused.
So the Stafford Act money allows you to repair, remodel, upgrade, retrofit, whatever terminology you want to use, facilities to make them, to renovate them to be used as part of the EOC. And that's what the majority of this building is going to be part of the EOC because all of their storage is going to be in that building.
Commissioner,
Okay, so the other questions I'm going to ask is this. We got $5 million graciously given this to us by the state of Texas to do our EOC. We're already missing 118 out of that 5 million. What is this building going to cost now? Because I said I want it designed to 5 million or at 5 million, so we didn't have to spend the other funding. Now we're going to start going into other fundings, and it's, again, that's what I say. Every month, every year we wait, construction bills go up, everything goes up, and then we're chasing our tail.
Right.
We got to pull the trigger on this and get our
There-
EOC. It's
there
important for
is
this county.
There is another source of money because we have two emergency
civil
management,
preparedness.
civil preparedness funds totaling somewhere around 700 and something thousand, I think. If we want to pay for it out of there, we can pay for it out of there.
Didn't we have some funds there?
We have money in the civil
Okay.
preparedness fund,
All right.
yes.
Okay.
So this 118 moves us forward to get these plans set. 60 days later, we get the plans for the EOC and the storage
Unit,
facility
yep.
as well.
Yes?
And then her $5 million for EOC, and I'm just pointing at Cindy because that's strictly for the EOC, if I understand correctly.
That is correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's strictly going to go to that building only.
Yes.
And this other that Broadus is working on is for the storage area, or what is Broadus?
Well, there,
Yeah.
I
Coming
want
in
to
on.
clarify, there is a Stafford Act, but this is my conversation with Jason from Broadus. Until an application, a grant funding program becomes available for us to apply, then we apply just as we do through a grant application process. It's not immediate funding through Stafford Act. There has to be an actual grant application. And at this point, there's not an open application. Broadus's hope is that once we finalize the hazard mitigation plan, that we're in line for funding right now for that, then an application will open up what Commissioner Martin is talking about to apply for funding for the second
yeah.
area, yeah.
It's a timing and sequence thing. We'll have the plans for everything done. We need that to be able to apply for the grant. So we need to do the entire project and get it finished. When we get ready to bid, we can separate it out, or we can leave out certain parts of it.
Where do these plans stand right now? So, because I've seen the old plans, I've never seen the new plans.
There's no new plans to see. The only thing that's done is the floor plan, because we had to agree on that to determine how much it was going to cost for everybody else to make their changes.
You have a copy? Okay, yeah, I would like to see that, I mean, before we start voting on stuff.
Have you seen a copy of the new floor plan?
The
Yes.
proposed, yes, sir.
Okay. And
This is what the judge and her basically told me that they want to see done for the building.
We cut out 7 offices
Offices.
to reduce the floor space and redesigned the dispatch area to allow them to have a little more space. What we took out of the maintenance building area was the break room area, so we would have
located in the main building.
put it over there. So that's the major changes. That's the only really big changes other than cutting office spaces down.
Separated from that building. Kind of moved it over.
Yeah, and the only thing really going to be left in the other side, in the old sheriff's room, would be a place to store the communications trailer, since I just had it wrapped, and PPE, and then whatever the sheriff is going to be, his evidence locker room will have to be redone, because that has to be done to law enforcement regulations, and I don't know what that is, of course, but, and then we'll have some extra open floor space. If he eventually wanted to put some officers over there or something, there'll be extra room.
So dispatch is going in here?
Dispatch is going
Dispatch
into
is
the
going in the
EOC.
new building, yes.
And Sheriff,
The
That's something
sheriff.
that It's gonna definitely help with our EMS and, you know, all your locations that you need, extra room and stuff like that.
It gives us room for expansion.
Yeah, and there's plenty of room to grow in that dispatch area, yeah.
Okay, so we have discussed and take action on the services that we need to pay. You say that we have other accounts aside from the grant from the state that this can be paid from?
Yes.
Yes, we have a civil preparedness fund that we've got, it's a little under 700,000 now because we've expended some money from it, for expenses out of the EMC, but, yeah, that's where, it's not budgeted, but if that's where you want it coded to, we would take money from it.
Well, we had to get these redesigns on this to get it down to where it fits that $5 million. All right, Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion, to take action, and amend the professional service contract with RBK to make changes to the design of the EOC, and I think that came out to $118,350.
Yes, Judge, I'll make a motion to amend the professional services agreement with RBK to make changes to the EOC in the amount of $118,350, and to take that money from the Civil Preparedness Fund and to authorize the county judge to execute the contract.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Martin, seconded by Commissioner King on agenda item number 10. Is there any other discussion? Hear none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against, motion passes. Move to agenda item number 11. We have Commissioner Martin, Precinct 1, take and discuss action to add Hondo PD, Medina County SO, Atascosa SO, and Kerr SO to the Operation Lone Star Task Force Agreement.
Yes, Sheriff, you want to come to the podium? Yeah, so the sheriff, in the Operation Lone Star agreements, we've had other agencies that want to come in and join the one that we're currently a part of, and so these four agencies want to be added. And so
Those four agencies have an MOU signed by their entities, Commissioners Court, City Council, whatever. I just realized I did not bring that with me, Judge.
Okay.
You don't have the actual amendment. The amendment basically is just an amendment to the OLS agreement that y'all have already approved and signed, adding those four entities to the original agreement.
You have that agreement?
No, you've signed that months ago. You've got it on file.
Were
This was just an
these
amendment.
agencies on there?
No, they are an amendment to it. They are added to it. And
We don't have the
and
amendment.
we agreed, I have the amendment in my office. I printed it. I forgot to bring it.
Okay. So these are just other counties that'll come in to assist with Operation Lone Star?
Actually, we're fixing to run an operation in Medina County next week
Okay,
as part of OLS with those agencies.
simple.
But yes, those four entities have, and we do have their MOUs on file already through their respective agencies, entities. We do have copies of those.
Can you get the MOU to us today? I mean, the amendment?
Yes,
Okay, all right.
I can get that.
All right, Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion, take action to add Hondo PD, Medina County SO, Atascosa SO, and Kerr County SO to the Operation Lone Star Task Force Agreement.
Judge, I make a motion to add Hondo PD, Medina County Sheriff's Office, Atascosa Sheriff's Office, and Kirk County Sheriff's Office to the Operation Lone Star Task Force Agreement.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Martin, seconded by Commissioner Paradola on agenda item number 11. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against? I forgot to ask, is there any discussion, but we've already voted. We got ahead of ourselves. Agenda item number 12, we have discuss and take action on appointing 7-person steering committee to assist with improving planning of the Wilson County Expo Center, formerly the Wilson County Show Barn. Commissioners, I think that we need to have a steering committee since we've parked $2.5 million ARPA money to do renovations to the center part of the Expo Center. This is gonna take some people in the community that I'd like to see somebody from each, at least city, from Poe, Stockdale, Lavernia, Floresville. I have a couple names. I need some suggestions. There's been 3 people that already have contacted me that'd like to be on that. They all have very close knowledge of working with stock shows and the children and the, formerly the county show barn, which I've been told I need to quit saying. It's the Expo Center, and it's true. We need to start calling it the Expo Center because it does other things besides have stock show in it. So I just need an approval from y'all and some directions so we can have the 7-person steering committee appointed as soon as possible to assist the court.
I'll make a motion to have a 7-person steering committee to help improve planning of the Wilson County Expo Center, formerly known as the Show Barn.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner King, seconded by Commissioner Martin regarding agenda item number 12. Is there any other discussion?
When are we gonna start putting names out there?
I would like for y'all to start submitting names as soon as possible. I have 3, we need to fill 7.
I have one.
Well, I was going to say that
Okay.
lady that was here this morning might be a good candidate if anybody.
She,
else
the lady, Lafferty, was one that put in for it. She would be a good candidate. So, yeah, so just visit with me and we can get going.
Okay.
All right?
And we'll say it over court.
Yeah, we'll say, once we get that done, we'll come back to court and I'll tell you who the committee members are.
Okay.
All right, regarding agenda item number 12, is there any other discussion? Okay, call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against, motion passes. Move to agenda item number 13, Sheriff Stewart, Sheriff's Office Progress Report. Sheriff?
Okay. I'll make this pretty quick today because as you can see, we've got 7 months worth of stats behind us now, and we have basically come to a pretty much an average every month. Everything's pretty much holding station. Not much changing in any of the products. Well, I guess we have been trying to get a little more proactive, and our patrol buys, security checks and stuff like that have been tending to move forward a little bit better. So, and that's something I've had been focusing on, so. CID stats, which are behind there, basically the same thing. We only have 2 months because I just started putting those here. 2 months of, but I think since the numbers are fairly low, there's only like 6, 8, 10. They're actually holding pretty close to average also.
Sheriff, I see we're still getting an awful lot of loose livestock calls. Are a lot of those repeat customers that just aren't taking care of business, or?
If they are, they are, without a doubt, they're being cited if they're repeat customers, but it's just been so dry and they're just putting so much pressure on them fences. They're just getting out on a regular basis. And even if you got a good fence, if they're hungry, they're gonna move.
Yeah, I know.
Unfortunately, it takes a lot of time to deal with it, but it's not that big a deal.
Our animal control calls, I see they're steadily. Are we getting any cooperation from anybody locally on taking some of these animals?
The only thing I have to do with animals, if we need them picked up, is to go to the no-kill shelter, because that's the only option I have right now.
I inherited 4 on New Year's Eve when the firecrackers went off. And
Oh,
we found
yes.
their owners, so
But you did find their owner?
I found them all.
Good. But yes, I don't know, the animal complaints, I think maybe the enforcement action we've been taking is kind of starting to get it a little bit under control as far as the owners know when they're running loose and keeping them in their yard, but there's still so many just that run loose all the time that we are definitely still going to have to handle for the foreseeable future.
That's something we're going to continue to look and see what kind of grants we can get for something like that.
Oh, Grant, that reminds me. I know that was, I was just going to tell you that it was supposed to be on this agenda. I forgot about it till just now, and I think Brenda did too, for the AEDs. because there's a grant that's available to put AEDs in every car and in the courthouse, district court, courtrooms, where we can have an AED present for everybody, and it's no matching funds through a private entity. And I know I discussed it with Brenda, and I forgot to check on it today, but I wanted to let y'all know that was coming.
David Smith, right?
Yes.
I think he was going to send me over like the application and stuff, and I know I forgot to remind him to do that. So we can-
Good enough, but I will make sure it's on the next agenda, because that's some equipment that could definitely be used in them cars, especially to go along with the thing that we're
Along with
working
the
on right
level
now.
1 kits that we're getting and
Exactly.
crash kits, which is going to be tremendous.
Exactly. So if we can get
Folks from
both of those
California.
in those cars.
And that's no cost to the county, by the way, so.
So, very good. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Sheriff, I know we haven't heard a whole lot lately with your showers, your locks, and all that. What's your status on all that?
They are installing the lock mechanisms. The jail, the assistant jail administrator has got another company coming. I know our control panel, that's our problem, is our control panel. And I know right before I took office, they spent a lot of money on the system I have right now, but they are not helping us. And the system ain't that old. We shouldn't be having these kind of issues with it, but we're having problems every day. And it's going to be relatively costly to go in and do the whole system, but there's a company coming in to look and see what they can do to help us out. The showers, we're going to attempt those on our own because it's epoxy, and I think we're going to try to do one and see if we can in-house that to save some cost. And if it doesn't turn out good, we'll go outside and let somebody professional come in and do it. But and then our privacy screens are being installed right now. They should be all installed, I think, by the end of this week, and we'll have all of those in. So we'll be getting closer toward the issues that the jail commission has that we really needed to focus on. But the latest one on the locks, that's one that I've got to get fixed. That is a security nightmare right there.
Sheriff, have y'all spoken directly with CML Security, the company that installed them?
Yep. Well, and I don't know, I know he's talking to CML. They were supposed to be coming out this week to look at what's going on, because it shouldn't be happening. But if not, he's got Guardian coming, which is another company that has been around for a long time, and we'd look at that.
Just for knowledge for the commissioners who weren't here when we replaced that system, I mean, it's 2 years old, and we spent close to $500,000 to replace that panel that had not been replaced in over 20 years. So if, I certainly can help if you need some help for me to contact the administration people of CML to make sure that.
See, but I don't,
our warranty as well.
well, see, and that, I don't know if we got a warranty on there, but the equipment, software or whatever the issue is not CML, it's Salient, which may be, but they probably did the whole contract, but our actually issue is with the software itself and the system.
So it's not the equipment, it's not the.
It's not necessarily the cameras and the locking mechanism, no. I don't think it's that. I think it's an issue with the software and what's going on in the computers that drive the whole thing. But it's really kind of hard until we figure out exactly what's wrong with it and how to know how to move forward, so. But we're working on it,
So they're coming out, they're gonna check it out.
yes.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sheriff, appreciate it. We have agenda item number 14, Ms. Genevieve Martinez, County Clerk, to discuss and take action on Commissioner Court minutes.
The minutes have been reviewed by the county judge and the county attorney.
I'll give you a few minutes, Commissioner. All right, I'll entertain a motion to take action on the Commissioner Court meeting, accepting them.
I make a motion that we accept the Commissioners Court minutes as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Paradola, seconded by Commissioner King. Is there any other discussion on agenda item number 14? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against, motion passes. We move on to agenda item number 15, Ms. Jaylynn Bodiford, our Human Resource Specialist, presentation of parole and personnel changes.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
The only change we have are 2 new employees. We have Kenneth Bissett, who was hired as a patrol deputy for the Sheriff's Department, making $23.73 per hour, or $51,826.32 annually, and it's effective January 2nd, 2024. We also have Madison McBride, who is hired as the permit clerk for the Permits and Development Department, making $17.24 per hour, or $35,861.28 annually, effective January 2nd, 2024. And that's it.
Thank you, Andre. Move to agenda item number 16, Ms. Brenda Trevino, our county auditor, discuss and take action on county bills.
Yes, I have reviewed and approved, excuse me, bills totaling $302,900.96. Couple of updates. We will be starting our fiscal year 22-23 external audit. Krista and I have our first meeting this Wednesday or Thursday with the external auditors. So just to kind of give you a heads up, that's going to be starting soon around the corner.
Make a motion to approve the bills in the amount of $302,900.96.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Morton, seconded by Commissioner King regarding agenda item number 16. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against, motion passes. Thank you. Yeah. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner King, second by Commissioner Paradola. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against, we are adjourned, 10:33 a.m.